Anyway, fine. So, Rabbi, we are talking about commitments. Commitments in marriage. Tonight's topic is one of my pet topics. Okay? So we have this, and next week it's in English, and then we're going to go back to Persian. So we live, what my Rabbi Sachar friend always used to say, we live in a generation that it don't pay to fix anything. It doesn't pay to fix anything. I remember growing up in Tehran. I was still 14 years of age in Tehran. So near our house was, you had a few repair shops. All kinds of things, TVs, radios, these, that, whatever they had those days. You wouldn't throw away anything. You would fix it. Everything you fix. You see, now it's a disposable generation. Anything just doesn't work, it don't pay to fix it. Throw it away, get a new one. Anything. Soda bottles, cans, take anything. Right? Computers, watches, soon probably cars also are going to be disposable. It doesn't pay to fix anything. And unfortunately that mode of thinking also has been transplanted into relationships. And it's a lot has to do with the influences of Hollywood, right? Commitment doesn't mean much. Even in abortions, etc. It just God for which is a problem. You see, halachically, abortion is only allowed if the mother's life, if there is a smallest risk to mother's health, so then they are allowed to do it. But that's the only fashion that abortion is allowed. Otherwise, it's not. There is no commitment. Doesn't mean much. But you see, we have to realize in Judaism, commitment in relationships, especially in marriage, it's probably the most fundamental thing. A lot of times, I originally heard it from Rabbi Tender that what if the Mefarshim, the commentators say that we need for everything we have blueprint. Also for marriage, we have a Torah blueprint for marriage. What's our blueprint? We spoke about it before. It's like the commitment that we have with Hashem. Remember, we started these sessions with Tomer Dvorah, right? We picked up a lot of good elements from there, and it was it's comparing our relationships to each other to the relationship that we have with Hashem. So, you see, under the chuppah, right, we say, that, I have also a CD on this in Persian, about, Sahalveye Taloye Eslevaj, right? But you see, it's very important, you see, out there they said there are 3 rings, right? There is an engagement ring, wedding ring, and then suffer ring, right? But we have three golden rings. Right. They say marriage is like an elevator. The ones that are out, they want to get in. The ones that get in. All these sick jokes. No. Let them hear the whole story. So it's good. It's good. In Daf Yomi also we have a lot of usually jokes about marriage, and it's very exhilarating. It's good therapy. It's good if you are able to joke around about it. It's very healthy. But you see, every morning when we put tefillin represents our bond with Hashem. And we have to emulate that in our marriages and our relationships. So when we put tefillin, first we say ve'erastich li le'olam, ve'erastich li b'tzedek u'mishpat, ve'erastich li be'emunah. We say 3 verses, 3 psukim from Tanakh. That I'm not going to dwell on the number 2 and number 3, but the first one is ve'erastich li le'olam. Verasichli leolam means we are making an eternal commitment to each other.
To who?
To each other.
Ah.
Verasichli leolam. Leolam means forever. This is what Hashem said to Bnei Israel, to the Jews. And we say the same verses when we put tefillin. First we say Verasichli leolam. Verasichli leolam, it's a commitment. Right? It's a commitment that you can't, just I feel like it, I don't feel like it. We believe that if two people's names go into a ketubah together and they go under the chuppah, we believe 99.9% of the cases they are each other's soulmate. We're going to talk about gets. We're going to talk about divorce also, right? But we believe, and you say, there are so many people that they go under the chuppah and then they get divorced. Unfortunately, it's very, very possible that people would divorce their soulmates. This is people have free choice. People have free choice. But you see, this ve'erastichli le'olam, it's a life commitment. Except we're going to talk about yes. Get is also one of the divorce is also one of the laws of the Torah, one of the commandments. See, I was just telling my wife, it's very interesting that want to give me a chumash, please? We're talking about the relationships from the Torah point of view. The very first relationship that was very easy to establish, it was just one man, one woman, Adam and Chava. Right. So over there, we know Hashem told them not to eat from the forbidden tree, and after they ate, so the Torah tells us, right, that Chava was seduced by the Nachash. We are not going to go into that. That's another. It's very, very deep concepts over there. But it says Nachash haya arum. So it says that that she saw the fruit and she was tempted to eat it. Vatikach mepiryo vatuchal. She took from the she did not keep Hashem's commandment and she ate from the fruit. Vatiten gam leisha. But she also gave it to her husband and he ate. So the question is, why did she give it to him? Okay. By the way, Hashem learned his lesson. Right? Next time when Hashem wanted to give the commandments, he spoke first to the ladies. Here, Hashem spoke to Adam, not to Chava, and you see what happened. So he learned from his mistake. It's not a mistake. There's all the reasons for everything. But when Hashem wanted to give the Torah first, he asked the ladies. Right? So, but here, Chava ate from the fruit, and then she gave it also to her husband. So Rashi says, how come? Okay, fine, you ate. Why did she want her husband also to eat? So Rashi says, Shelo tamut hi v'yichyehu, because she didn't want that she would die and he would be alive and he would marry somebody else. Right, so it's a commitment for life. We are in this together. If I'm dying, you're dying with me. Right? So you see the first lesson about commitment right there in the Torah. But as I said, you see, our prototype is our relationship to Hashem. And you see, it's very, very interesting. The relationship that we have with Hashem, there is no divorce in it. There is no divorce in the relationship between us and Hashem. First of all, you see from the very beginning in Bereshit, when Hashem is please be attentive, when Hashem is talking about Noach, before Hashem brings the flood, it says Noach is tzaddik. Noach was a tzaddik, he was a righteous person, and Hashem picked him, and he told him to go to build the teva, Noach's ark, and the flood came, etc. But it's very interesting that when it comes to picking Avraham, nowhere in the Torah says that Hashem picked Avraham because he was a tzaddik. You see, by Noach, it says, Noach ish tzaddik tamim hayeh b'dorotav. Then Hashem told him, go and build the teva. But by Avraham Avinu, there is no mention of why Hashem picked it. It says Hashem out of blue. Hashem tells Avraham, Lech lecha ma'artzecha mimolatecha. Right? Go and it tells him commands him to go to Eretz Yisrael, etc., etc. Why is that? It's the question is very very clear. How come first Hashem should say Avraham was a tzaddik, he was a Baal Chesed, he loved humanity, he was so Hashem should have said, look at the speak after Avraham what he did, he should have picked him then. After Sodom, Amorah, that Avraham goes, Avraham Avinu praise to Hashem. When Hashem told Avraham that your children are going to be in exile for hundreds of years, Avraham didn't say anything. This is what Hashem says, I accept. When Hashem wanted to destroy Sodom and Amorah, Avraham Avinu is standing there bargaining like Persians with Hashem. Maybe 50 tzaddikim, maybe 40, maybe 30. I saw the Persian guy was bargaining the post office and stamps and stuff. So anyway, but you see, but here Avraham Avinu is bargaining over what? You see, he has such a love for humanity. He has such a love of, for kindness. It would have made more sense that Hashem should first introduce Avraham, what qualities he has, and then he should have said Hashem told him Lech Lecha. Would have made sense. But the Torah doesn't say that. So Maharal says that Hashem didn't want, right, to have a divorce in this relationship. Hashem wanted to show that the love that he has to Abraham and his children is unconditional. If Hashem would have said that I picked Abraham because Abraham is a tzaddik, right? So then if his children are not a tzaddik, so then if you're not righteous people, he would have exchanged them with somebody else. But here Hashem says, Hashem Lech Lecha, right? The Lech Lecha go with. That creates that bond that here, that this bond between us and Hashem is eternal. Later on, we see that this commitment is reaffirmed. You see, the Torah tells us that if somebody, God forbid, would go and force a lady into a relationship, he cannot, if she wants to live with him, he cannot divorce her. Right? Divorce exists in the Torah, except in a case that somebody forced, raped a lady, so if that lady wants to live with him, so then there's no divorce in that relationship. So it's very interesting that when Hashem wanted to give the Torah to the Jewish nation, and through that create this bond between us and him, right? So it says first, Bnei Israel said, whatever Hashem says, what did they say? Na'aseh v'nishma. Whatever Hashem said, we are going to do, and then we're going to study, whatever. But it's very interesting that when it came the time came for giving the Torah, the Jews wanted to run away. Right? They had said Na'aseh v'nishma. See, a lot of times the tells us before they get married, they get very nervous. They want to run away. That's why the parents hold on to them, take them under the chuppah. You don't see the chains, right? But they're handcuffed. Right? Why they want to run away? Because it's getting serious and it's a commitment. So they wanted to run away. This is exactly what happened at Har Sinai. That first Bnei Israel, they said, "Oh, sure, we're going to accept the Torah." But when the time came for giving the Torah, it says that the Jews were standing betachtit hahar. These are the words in betachtit hahar, that they were standing underneath the mountain. What does it mean underneath the mountain? So Rashi brings from the Gemara that HaKadosh Baruch Hu kafa alehem har kegigit. But Hashem picked up Har Sinai. That's the reason, by the way, we have a chuppah. Right? Why do we have a chuppah? Right? Because it's to resemble a lot of things there. It's to resemble Har Sinai. So the chuppah that it's in Iran we used to have a talit. Now we have fancy chuppot and we put the talit underneath. But you see, this talit or whatever the chuppah, it's supposed to resemble Har Sinai. That Hashem picked up Har Sinai and told them, look, If you accept the Torah, good. Otherwise, I'm going to just bury you here. That's what it says. So, why did Hashem need to do that? I mean, the Jews, right, had said already Na'aseh v'nishma. What is this forcing them into this? So the Mepharshim explained, the Gaon says, Hashem wanted to say, look, because this is a law, as I said, this is the law of the Torah, that if you force somebody into a relationship, there is no get, there is no divorce. This is the sign of ultimate love. I'm not going to, Hashem would never divorce the Jewish people. That's it, period. There is no divorce in that relationship. If we are not going to act properly, so Hashem is going to punish us. God forbid we have holocausts, we have etc. constantly Hamans, those days, nowadays, Hashem, all kinds of means. There is no divorce in this relationship, period. Right? So, okay, when it comes to human beings, Hashem does allow, so to speak, for divorce, but we have to realize that in Hebrew, divorce is get. Talaq, divorce is get.
What is get?
Get means divorce.
Oh, okay.
So now, there is something very, very unique about the word get. The Tosafot brings it, that you do not find, listen carefully, you do not find any Hebrew word, you go through dictionary, you would not find any Hebrew word that has these two letters in it together other than get. Challenge. Okay? There is no Hebrew, real Hebrew. So what is Hashem telling us? What is Hashem telling us? Hashem saying the following. Hashem says, yes, get, divorce, is an option in Torah and Judaism. We are not like the Catholics. But Hashem's telling us, when do you get divorced? Only if these two people, the only way you could bring them together is for get to the Beit Din to write a get. So then there is, if in other words, if there is no other way, you understand? If these two letters could come together only for a get, so that means that every possibility, everything was exhausted, and there's no other way. So this is really, right, this is the Jewish view on get. We believe, as I said, we believe that 99.9% of the cases, when two people, right, they date and they get married, they go under the chuppah, their names are written in Ketubah, they are each other, they're soulmates, right? And and people, you see, people are this mode of thinking of like that doesn't pay to fix it. Throw it away, get a new one. Right? It doesn't pay to fix something. It's a computer, whatever you want to fix it, just throw it, put it on the street, go get a new one. Right? So they want to do the same thing with relationships. And I'll tell you, I have names of men, divorced men, and phone numbers, and I have names and numbers of divorced ladies that they tell me, look, whoever, please do me a favor, whoever wants to get divorced, tell them first to call me before they do that. I'm telling you, the great majority of them they regret it afterwards. It's terrible. Sometimes, really, there is no other way. You see, the Torah doesn't say no. Doesn't say we cannot do that. We're not like Catholics, but it really needs to be that in the very last option, that everything else has been exhausted, right? This is get. Get means gimel. You cannot take these two letters, bring them together. So you see, the great, but you see that element of commitment is very important. People, nowadays, I think it's the biggest crisis that we have. It's like, people don't want to commit. And they are influenced unfortunately by what?
Hollywood.
The garbage that is in Hollywood, TVs, all these fairy tale things that don't have to do anything with reality. And they I was just listening to the news about the highest profile. I don't know who's getting divorced. The settlement is before I came up, $19 million settlement or something.
Dodgers.
Okay, fine. You see, this is but this is really the opposite of what the Torah stands for. Commitment. You see, in Iran they used to say, you go, with the piano safid, and then Bada Sadubi Salam, ba kafan safid biran biru. Okay, fine. It's not really this Besuzo Besaz philosophy and concept. It's now it's it's a dirty word in America to talk about that. But you don't go from one extreme to another extreme. Right? You don't. This is not. We have. A lot of things really. Besuzo Besaz just make. This is your mazal. A lot of times you can never know. Right? And again, please don't misunderstand me. There are cases, right, that really there is no other way and they should get divorced. But the great majority of the cases, there is a lady that used to come to my shiurim for years. Now she moved to a different neighborhood, a different area. And you see, she's an unbelievable lady, and I used to talk to her a lot. And she has a husband that he's really, even I would, but years back when she wanted to come on my class, I told her, look, your husband is not a bad person. He's not, but he's not all there. He's not, like all of us. All of us, we need to tune up. Some need more, different levels. But you see, I told her, look, because of your kids, right? There's 3-4 kids, I don't know. If you, Hashem is going to reward you. If you, besuzo besa, so to speak. You see, there are cases, right? You see, it's very interesting. If you go back to to divorce, there is a machloket between Bet Shammai and Bet Hillel. According to Bet Shammai, the only reason for a person that it's justified to the Torah for a person to divorce his wife is only if she's not loyal to him, if she wasn't loyal to him. That's it. That's what the Bet Hillel are not as, Bet Hillel are more generous on that. There are other reasons that he could divorce his wife. But according to Bet Shammai, only if matzaba ervat davar, if he, because that's what the pasuk says. So Bet Shammai take it literally, because when the Torah talks about get, he says if you want to divorce it, because matzaba ervat davar is talking about not being faithful to him. God forbid. That's what. But Bet Hillel said this is not necessarily the only case. So the other cases also. But according to Bet Shammai, that's the only. Bet Shammai said other than that you're not allowed to divorce your wife. But anything else, you could work out. And some of it's the philosophy is besuz or besaz, and you have to realize sometimes we are in situations. Difficult situations in life that we asked for it. If you go into Kabbalah a little bit, etc., Gilgul, right? Chafetz Chaim says not about marriage, but it's also applicable to marriage. And again, please don't misunderstand me. I don't say no matter what. We do not. Halakha is not like Bet Shammai. Halakha is not like Bet Shammai that the only justification for divorce would be. God forbid, right, not being loyal to each other, right? But you see, we have to, the Chafetz Chaim says sometimes. Let's take another example, not marriage. Chafetz Chaim says maybe somebody is like financially is going through terrible times. Whatever he tries, it doesn't go. So Chafetz Chaim says you would be surprised to know that maybe this person asked for this situation where he is in. Maybe in the previous Gilgul. The last time around when he was here, Hashem had given this person a lot of money. And this person did not give enough tzedakah. So his neshama, his soul goes up. So okay, he kept Shabbat, he was a nice person, he was this, Baal Chesed, but he didn't give enough tzedakah. And the only way to correct that is we'll send him again, right? And we put him in the same situation. This time, let him make it up. So this guy, Chavetz Chaim says, goes and begs Hashem, please, don't do that. Don't send me again as a rich person, because I'm afraid I'm going to, again, not to give enough tzedakah. Please, this time send me as a pauper, as a poor person that doesn't have, lo yachol ligmor et hachodesh, as they say in Hebrew. He asked for it because he knows last time he messed up. So this time, he says, please don't put me in that kind of situation. Sometimes you should know, also it comes in marriages, sometimes it could be, if a person has a Izevel for a wife, or a Hamana for a husband. I don't know, examples of, Reshaim and, wicked people. You can never know. Maybe this person in the previous Gilgulit was the exact opposite. Maybe the last time around, they had the most beautiful, obedient, I don't know, whatever, chash, husband, wife, whatever it is. And they did not appreciate them, so they have to make up for it. So maybe that's why this time around, it's again, don't misunderstand me. There are cases that, yes, get in a divorce is the only way out. But you see, there is, as I said, this thing about besuzo besas, just make do and just how would you say besuzo besas in English? It's in English when you don't have such a. What kind of crazy thing is that? I don't think there is an expression for that. What are crazy? Get out of it. Get rid of it. Get the new one, right? But that's not the Jewish. Definitely, that's not the Jewish philosophy on marriage. Commitment is a lot. And you see, a lot of times the relationship therapist would tell you, if one of the spouses would come and say, honey, you know what? I'm not divorcing you. Not that I want to, I love you. I truly love you. There's divorce is not an option. We're going to stick together, we're going to work on it, and we will make it work. And you see, when one of them really would come, again, we're not saying, if one of them, really, that's it, so then you can't help it, right? You see, usually when we see, cases like, the couple, they're separated a couple of years already. And so obviously they should get divorced and would, try something else, right? But you see this element of commitment, and and you see, we live in a society that there is no tolerance for pain. Constantly having a pain reliever, you take this, there is no tolerance altogether, right? And again, but relationships are not utensils or cars, etc. that you just you dispose of, right? It's commitment. It's a main ingredient. First, from all these, for the three commitments, first is verasechel lo'olam. Then verasechel mishpat, right? Then we have other things. But but this is an element that really needs to be emphasized, and we have to realize that married life has ups and downs, right? You see, it's interesting. The date that we write in the ketubah, it's a lunar month. The Hebrew date that we write, it's all about the date is a lunar date, and you see. There is something. There's a connection between the moon and not only that. Moishe Day. It's very inspirational and romantic, right? But there is a connection. You see, by the moon. You see, sometimes you have a full moon. Sometimes it diminishes. Some people try, when they set a date for marriage, to do it the first half of the month when the moon is going towards completion, not the second half of the month. Somebody just called me. I told them, forget about that. Get married as soon as possible. Say, no. I want to, person, once they're committed, they should get married fast, not to postpone it. But if while they are making the date, etc., it's better to have a date the first half of the month, when the moon is going towards completion, and not when the moon is going towards, I got married after Purim. It was already, the moon was starting to go to shrink. But it doesn't, But you see, but the point is, there's a message there. The moon, sometimes it's full, someday it starts shrinking, and then disappears altogether. But then it reappears, and starts and goes again towards completion. And you see, we have to realize that life has cycles. It's ups and downs. It's not something, people think, and then they got married and they were happy ever after, and you think like in all these movies, like in everything is rosy, etc. This is not real life. This is not real life. The real life, it's really like the moon. It has cycles. And you see, really observing Hilchot Midah, observing the halachot of family purity, does wonders, really, for a good marriage. Right? You see, when we moved here to California 20-some years ago, there was on the radio, they had some kind of advertisement. They used to say, there is some kind of snack. It has this vitamin, it has that vitamin, it has on and on. And then it's packaged in a very hygiene way, etc. You know what's that? It's grapes. It was obviously from the grape growers. They wanted to increase their sales. And then the punchline was beautiful. The punchline was, the one who invented it was a genius. Right? Hashem obviously is a genius. But you see, the same thing, it's lahavdil for the halachot, the laws of family purity. They really, you could see Hashem's genius in it. Because it goes through the cycles. It's a cycle. It's a cycle of being together, separation, a separation that you look forward, you count the days when you're going to be reunited again, and it does really wonders for a marriage, because you see, in marriage there are cycles, right? When you observe the halachot of Taharat HaMishpacha, it's also like there is a time that you cannot be physical with each other, but you need to relate to each other, right? Because that observing this halachot, the Gemara says, why did Hashem give these laws of family purity? Rabbi Meir says, because Hashem wanted the love and attraction between husband and wife should always be maintained, like first honeymoon, first time they were together. And so, right, it's like the Gemara says, if you find a jar of honey and you empty it in the whole thing in your mouth, you're going to hate honey, right? But if you have honey in moderation, you always would like it. This is one reason. Another reason that is given is, it's really to protect the dignity of the woman, that she doesn't become just, like, God forbid, like a sex object, that they need to relate with each other also in a non-physical manner. There's a person there to relate to. But you see, this is the same idea of going through cycles. Life is not something that the moon is not always full, right? It sometimes it's smaller, sometimes it disappears, but again it's going to reappear. And you see, this is something that people don't, they don't have the right expectations about marriage. I just want to, we learn Daf Yomi in the mornings, Baruch Hashem, early in the morning, and interesting enough, coinciding with these series that we are going through. So the Gemara talks, I want to just share with you a few points that the Gemara brings, right? The Gemara brings about marriage, and one of it has to do with this commitment issue as well. So, Amar Rabbi Alexandre, it says, "Kol adam shemet ha'ishto b'yamav olam chashach ba'ado." It says, God forbid, if somebody loses his spouse, he loses his wife, it's like the world becomes dark on him. Shenamar or chashach be'aholo. Ohel, a tent in Torah, it's a symbol of a married life. Right? We see that the ohel of Sarah, Rivka, right? So he says, you see, from what the Gemara says, you could derive what is a Jewish marriage. A Jewish marriage, when you go home, there is light there. When husband and wife they are there, the Shekhinah is there. And the Shekhinah is there, we know Shekhinah of Hashem comes somewhere that, if there is no, right, Hashem's, under the chuppah, Hashem's presence comes between husband and wife, right? Rabbi Ben Ishchai says, he says the ring is like a yud, the 5 fingers of the chatan when he gives the ring is like hey, when the bride extends her finger it's like vav, and the 5 fingers of the kala is hey, yud ke vav ke. It's also, that it says that Gaon Mivilna says that Ish has Yud, Isha has Hey, and then with the Ketubah also has an extra Vav and Hey, because the root of the word is Ketav. So Ish, Isha, Yud, Hey, and then Vav, Hey that Ketubah brings. With the Ketubah, Yud Ke Vav Ke, it's the name of Hashem. So the Shekhinah of Hashem comes under the chuppah. It's an extra dose of come between them. But then their task is going to be to keep the Shekhinah there. And it says, Shekhinah of Hashem is with the person no matter how sinful he becomes. The Torah says, HaShochen itam betoch tumotam. It says, even if they are tameh, if they are impure, I dwell with them. There is only one thing that kicks away the Shekhinah, and that's Ga'ava. Ga'ava, when people are big shots, they have it's me, the mighty me. When Ga'ava comes in, Hashem pulls aside. So you see, that's what he says. It says but a person, then when God forbid, a person loses his wife, it's like what? It's like there's darkness because the Shekhinah is removed. It says also, it's Rabbi Yossi Bar Chanina said, Psiotav mitkatzrot. He says his steps becomes shorter, right? He says because he's not himself. It's the strength is taken away from him. So there is a mizmor that says in Tehillim. It says Motzi asirim, right? Baita. It says Al tikri bakosharot, right? He says Hashem took Bnei Israel out of Mitzrayim bakosharot. Kosharot, what is the root of kosharot? Kasher. So the Gemara says it means Hashem took Bnei Israel out of Mitzrayim when? In the month of Nisan. Because now month of Nisan is the month that is kasher. It's kosher for coming out of Mitzrayim. What's so kasher about it? Because they say the month of Nisan, it's a compromise between the winter and the summer. It's a springtime, right? So what makes it the compromise? So they said this is also a recipe for a good marriage is you have to compromise. Kosharot, kasher. The same way that that the month it's month of Nisan is kasher because what makes it kasher? Because it's a compromise between the coldness of winter and the heat of the summer. It's a beautiful spring, which is a compromise. That's what you need in a marriage as well. So it's a long thing over here, but then the Gemara says that once Rav Yehuda, one of the sages of the Gemara, he was teaching his son. So the Gemara says, Matin Rav Yehuda Rav Yitzchak Berei. That Rav Yehuda was teaching his son, Rav Yitzchak, and he told him, Ein motze korat ruach, אין אדם מוצא קורת רוח אלא מאשתו ראשונה, שנאמר, יהי מקורך ברוך ושמח מאשת נעוריך. He says, a person, the first wife, the first marriage is ideal marriage. He says, this is the happiest days of life, so to speak. You're going to have simcha and joy with her. So Amarlo, so the son asked his father an intimate question. He said, Kegon man, he said, like whom? Father, Abba, could you give me an example of such a beautiful, joyous marriage? That, as the Pasuk says, Usmach me'eshed na'urecha. So Amar lo kegon imach. He said, like your mother? Fine. So Gemara says, is that so? That Rav Yitzchak has such a happy marriage that when he tells his son, the relationship he has with his mother, which is his wife. So the Gemara says, but the Hamakir, there was another time. There was another study session that they had together, the Hamakrile, Rav Yudol, Rav Yitzchak Berei, then they were learning a different sefer. This was the pasuk that we had. It's in Mishlei, the Proverbs of Shlomo HaMelech, Sefer Mishlei. So then, at a different time, he was teaching his son a different book from the Tanakh, from Sefer Kohelet, and over there, Shlomo HaMelech says, "Umotze ani mar mimavet et haisha," that I find the wife, the woman, to be more bitter than death. Okay? I'm going to get back to this. So, Amar lo again, the son asked his father, Kegon man, he said, like whom? So, Amar lo Kegon imach, he said, like your mother. What's going on here? Once he's saying like, it's like bitter, and once he's saying like simcha, joy. So the answer is, right, so Gemara says, yes, sometimes, mitkaf tkifa, sometimes she would be very difficult. But ibure me'abra b'mila, but he knew how to deal with her. He knew how to talk to her, etc., etc., Especially, I should say, only the session with men, because the Gemara, the Torah says that the raw material for men, for Adam HaRishon, was what? Dust. Dust, you step upon it. And also, if you, a little water makes it very soft. So when the wife cries a little bit, like it does. But what is the raw material of ladies? Bone. Right? Bone is much harder than dust. Right? So, but Shlomo HaMelech says, Lashon Raka Tishbor Garem. He says, Lashon Raka, a very soft tongue could break the bone. So men have to know how to talk to their wives. Right? So this is what happened with him. But you see, the point is that life has ups and downs. Yes, it could be one day it could be like, marmim of it. It could be very bitter and, but sometimes, right, but you have the joy also. Right? You have usmach me'eshet neurecha. It's the same, but you see, you need to be committed and to realize that there are cycles. It's not supposed, some people people think like, if there is something, a problem arises, that's the end chasvayla. No. We spoke about tolerance in abundance. We spoke about it in the first sessions. But you see, this anticipation to realize that it's ups and downs, right? There is, just, to conclude about this thing that, it says, Shlomo HaMelech, and that brings back to the same subject, brings us back what we started. Shlomo HaMelech has two different psukim about marriage.
What's psukim?
Verses. There is one pasuk that he says, that we just quoted, that he says, Motze ani mar mimavet et haisha, that I find that, married life could be more bitter than death. But then we have, we have another pasuk that says Matzah isha matzah tov. That when you find a wife, so then you find tov, goodness. So the Gemara says that in Eretz Israel, when somebody would get married, right after we would get married, they would ask, okay, what's going on? Are you a matzah or a motzeh? What kind of marriage did you end up in? Are you a matzah isha matzah tov? Or are you a motzeh? Motzeh is motzeh ani mar mimavet haisha. They wanted to ask him, do you have a happy marriage or not? So what's the lesson here? You see, Chachamim explain, they say, look, matzah isha matzah tov. When a person realizes that, when you went under the chuppah, right, that's it. Matzah, I found, it's past tense. This is my mazal. My parents always they wouldn't call it, mazal they would call it. Mazal, mazal. This is my mazal. Mazal comes from nozel, that it drips from high up. Mazal is nozel. So matzah, if a person goes into, after he gets married, he says, this is it. Matzah, it's past tense. Matzah isha, he found So then matzah tov. But if a person, even after he gets married, he's motzeh is present tense. He looks around. Okay, let me see, what other options do I have? Or how is everybody else's marriage? Maybe I could do better. He's a motzeh. Motzeh is present tense. He's still looking around, he's comparing, etc. So then it's going to be mar mimovet. It's going to be more bitter than death. Matzah isha, matzah tov. Matzah isha, when a person, right, realizes that, you see, it says, the Gemara says, mi Torah, mi Nevi'im, mi Ketuvim. We have psukim that you see that, ma Hashem isha leish. That HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Hashem, brings people together. As we said in the pasuk, motzi asirim bakosharot. Right? We have psukim from Torah, Nevi'im, Ketuvim, that they all give the same message. That, that the hashgacha that the person sees in marriage, in more than, there is hashgacha pratit, there is Hashem's providence in all areas of life. But that, that intensity of hashgacha and providence that is found in how Hashem brings two people together, it's above and beyond. So if a person realizes, as we said, 99.9% of the cases, when people get married, it's really their soulmate. But the point is that they have to make peace with that. They have to be matzah isha. This is it. This is my matzah. This is somebody who's going to help me to come to shlemut of my neshama, etc. Right? If it's matzah isha, matzah tov. So then this is going to bring happiness. This is But if somebody is motzeh, if a person doesn't have that, this is exactly commitment. I'm committed. And you see, usually when two people, nobody forces. It's asur to force people to get married to each other. According to halacha, right? There's no forced marriages. They have to meet each other beforehand. They have to like each other, and then they get married. So obviously they saw goodness in each other to get married. Nobody puts a gun on their head to get married. Right? But you see, when it comes, when the expectations are not correct, and they anticipate, they think, married life is supposed to be a rose garden, they don't realize that it has ups and downs. They don't realize that, yes, there is the pasuk says, you have usmach me'eshet deurecha, and it says motzah and mar bovet. You have all kinds of situations when that commitment doesn't exist. And as I said, right, besuz or besaz should not be a dirty word, right? For a lot of cases, this is yes, right? Okay, it doesn't be so. We spoke about this, that a get is also there, but that's a minute that this should be on very very few cases altogether. I grew up as long as I lived in Iran. I didn't know even one couple that were divorced. I didn't know any. Right. Was it good? It wasn't good. I'm sure there were cases that really they should have gotten divorced. But you see, we have gone, especially our community has gone from one extreme to another extreme. It's part of this revolution that has revolutionized our community. It's expressed in unfortunately a high percentage of divorces that we are not used to it, and it should be alarming. And you see, and the problem is that unfortunately there's not enough Torah knowledge, right? That would would give the people their proper set of values. When you don't have that, so the values come from what? From TV and Hollywood, etc., right? And it's very unfortunate. I hope that these series that you're going to be also on the internet, etc., would maybe have a small contribution in that sense.